Johnny Holtom, music producer here, and I'm here with Arthur Shooter, who's been involved with me in drawing attention to the petition for Bob and Darkie, which is currently up to about 265,000 signatures? 266. And I want to very briefly tell you what we're going to do this morning. We want to look forward at how the petition develops from now, because Bob has this week moved into a bungalow, but he's very much connected with the objectives of the petition, which are to achieve real and lasting change in the way that older people can be looked after and protected in care homes around the country, and to ensure that if they go into a care home, they are secure, because you cannot have a situation which has occurred with Bob and Darkie, where at the age of 87, when you're on dialysis, you could be evicted from the place that you expect to stay for life. So what Arthur and I plan to do is have a chat about the issues in relation to the petition and the things that have come out from the discussions thus far, so that we can ensure that it continues to go forward, that Bob is able to become secure for life, financially, so he doesn't end up with worries later, because he's been a brave man in standing up for this, and that change actually happens. And we'd like to get feedback and reaction from people who watch this, because they will help to direct where it goes. A suggestion I just made a moment ago as an idea for raising money and also raising the profile, just came to me in the moment as a music producer, is in fact to make a song and involve Bob and Darkie in it. That would be a lovely way of giving him something to feel he's connected with, that will get the story out there and might get the press attention.
It might. Something needs to, anyway.
Something needs to, that's right. Because so far the press have been extraordinarily reluctant in the UK to get involved with this, although there's been a lot of support in Scotland, hasn't there?
Yeah, in the local press, yeah. STV have done their bit, Scottish Television, and even BBC's got, BBC Radio Scotland have got involved, but the mainstream press just, they're all watching.
Yes.
They're all aware. They just won't say or do anything.
And you've had this peculiar situation, which you mentioned in one of your updates, about the fact that one of the newspapers are afraid to publish an article because Bob's dog is called Darkie.
Yes.
And that just seems ridiculous.
I mean, the reporter did come to me and put it to me, and she said that the name Darkie is going to be a problem. And I mean, my reaction to that was, it is the dog's name, unfortunately. I mean, when Bob and Margaret got Darkie as a pup, and he came straight from the mother, I think, Margaret automatically called him Darkie, and he's jet black. He's a tiny dog. Yeah. The name hit her, and she used it, but she was in her 70s. Bob would have been 77 then. And it was just a name that she came up with, and it stuck, and they used it. It was, I mean, there was nothing about it. It was just a name. Yeah. There was no connotation there. They never thought of anything, and obviously Bob didn't think, well, 10 years' time I might be in a situation. Might have a problem with the name Darkie. Threatening to throw me out, and the name of my dog might be an issue. And I mean, on the petition page, I'll even take the decision to recall him Darcy with the C instead of the K.
And you said they still
the Irish connotation, because it basically means descended from the dark one. But even though we've done that, the newspaper concerned won't run this law.
I know. I just find it amazing. I mean, my partner is she's what called half caste, which I can't imagine a more horrible word than that. You know, she's a lovely person with a dark skin because her mother is white and her father is black.
Yeah.
Yet I, on occasions, and even she has on Facebook, been called a racist. And I just find it absurd that in a country that fought against this sort of Nazi-ish behaviour and fought against Hitler, one is about things like that, and that's more important than a man's life and happiness at the age of 87.
That's right.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I'd like to ask those who watch this to feedback any reaction to that, because I think that I don't think there'd be anybody in this country, or very, very few, that would even begin to consider this to be relevant.
I mean, most of the feedback so far has been, it hadn't crossed my mind. But with the politically correct press that we've got, it's the first thing that comes to their mind, unfortunately. And
what they're concerned about,
it has been an issue.
yes, what they're concerned about is that somebody will complain and then somebody will investigate and it will cost them money.
Yeah.
We've had this with a song called Clappy Christmas Song, which radio stations won't play in case some person complains, you know. Yet you see this word everywhere else, you know. And I just don't think we can go on running the country. We have to, I mean, Bob has taken a stand and a lot of people have supported him. And it's time for organisations to have the courage to say, no, this is important. We'll publish it. If somebody complains, we'll deal with it. We'll accept the costs. Don't you agree with that?
Exactly.
And I think I'd like to get the reaction of people who watch this fed back, because I think it's time to say enough of this is enough. The other reason we want to talk about this is because, obviously, now that Bob has gone into a bungalow, you know, people could think, oh, well, the problem's solved. But the problem isn't solved. Firstly, because Bob has gone from a care home where people have been, and obviously this has given him a lease of life fighting this and made him feel that he's doing something important.
That's right.
So keeping the petition and the issues going is important, because if it dies down, what will happen is people disappear, and you know, it will affect Bob's health. It may even shorten his life. And we don't want that to happen when a brave man has actually taken a stand like this. So that's the first
also,
reason.
as well as that, there is the fact that Bob is not alone. He's not the only person who's been forced out of a care home because the care home don't earn enough money out of it.
That's right. You mentioned, I mean, the lady in the other home owned by this company.
Yes. I mean, I don't know the background to that, and I'm surprised actually that somebody who does know hasn't come forward, because this blew up about a month ago. But Mary Gray was 84 years old, and she did suffer from dementia, so her care needs were higher than Bob's. But the feedback I get is that our friend Mr. Best, who runs these 7 care homes, had an issue with her son, who he said was disruptive because he found fault with the home. I mean, if you're paying £600 a week for your mother to stay in a care home,
you're going to question whether the care's good.
And you find issues there, then you're entitled to say something about it.
Yeah, of course you are.
But Mr. Best didn't like that. He doesn't like being criticised. And he effectively banned the son and his wife from the home. As I understand it, towards the end, they weren't allowed to go to the home, and Mary Gray had to meet somewhere locally. So that solved that problem as far as Mr. Best was concerned. Yeah, he still evicted Mary Gray from the home. And
at the age of 84 with
dementia.
dementia.
84, and she didn't actually go direct to another care home. I presume she went back to the Sons, and then she moved to another care home a while later, and then gone.
Because I look at things like this and I think, you know, if a train company did something which contributed to the death of somebody prematurely, the police would be calling it manslaughter. And I think that my father you know, was diagnosed with cancer in 1984 at the age of 48 rather, and he wasn't told he had cancer. And he found out by mistake in that a locum who was standing in for the doctor was speaking to his wife about something else and happened to say, "How's your husband's cancer?" because it was on medical records. And at that point, which was quite a shock. And what my father chose to do was not to go after money, but to issue a private prosecution against the doctor personally. It's one of the first ones that ever been done. And that got worldwide news. And I think that, you know, far too many people hide behind insurance companies and corporate policies. And I think that we've got these, you know, some people call them witch hunts going on at the moment, which are kind of out of control. And whatever the rights and wrongs, you know, you're starting to again to get back to the sort of ability to accuse people before they've actually even gone to court, and implying, and the principle of solidarity, say, which used to prevent this kind of thing from being reported happening, and yet they are not prepared to hold companies to account and individuals who go beyond the limits of what they should do. So there are two things, further things really. We want to get feedback and help from you, because many people do feel strongly and feel that this is a thing worth standing for. And any thoughts that you, the public, have on how we could perhaps redirect the petition so that it continues to get momentum and be spread. And secondly, the sort of thoughts that you have about, you know, the connected issues that could become part of this, so that ultimately what Bob has done in taking a stand results in real and lasting change for everybody who's in a situation where they should feel secure. Does that, you agree with that, Arthur? Any other thoughts you've got? I think I've pretty much said everything I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of wider issues here. This was all about, or appeared to be about, Bob's dog.
It did, yeah.
Mr. Best had not had a problem with the dog, but then two new managers moved into the home and they, for some reason, had a problem. The previous manager, who I'm still trying to find, loved Darkie. Bob goes for his dialysis 3 times a week. She used to make sure Darkie was looked after. As soon as the two managers took over, there became an issue, they said. But this is about all of the residents of the care home, not just Bob, because they all loved having Darkie around. He's not there anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on there now, but they were all saying before Bob left that they didn't want Darkie to go. The care home's now got a no pets policy, which they didn't have when Bob moved there.
No.
They welcomed Darkie and told Bob Darkie would stay there for life with them, with Bob and Margaret, and sadly Margaret passed away 2 years later. But there was no problem. But this is about Bob being told that Darkie has become an issue and he has to leave the home.
Yeah.
So they were saying to him, you must be separated from the dog that you've had for 10 years.
That
is
effectively
the only connection to Margaret.
Yeah.
Your only memory of Margaret, and you stay, and the dog goes.
And he goes wherever he goes.
And no more pets.
Yeah.
And that's it. But animals belong in pets.
They do.
It's even Mead Medical on their website make a big issue of the fact that they introduced a kitten to one of their other care homes locally, and what a difference it made to all the residents.
Brings them to life, doesn't it?
And yet they can't connect the two issues, and it's the same person.
It's the corporate world we live in, isn't it?
It's just, it makes no sense. So it's about whether there should be pets in pets homes, and whether there should be a pets policy across all care homes.
Yeah.
And it's also about the way that some care homes, and I'll have to make this clear, there are a lot of care homes, and there are a lot of beautiful care homes with some people who really do care, and there are too many care homes, I think, where people don't care.
They're almost treating people as if they were in a prison.
I mean, I basically refer to them as people who are looking for cash cows, and this is what it's all about. In Bob's case, when he moved to the home 4 years ago, his rent was, even for Scotland, probably a little bit high, £115 a week, but his needs were not great. He moved there with Margaret because Margaret's was deteriorating quite rapidly, and her needs were constant. She had a separate room in the care home, but her rent was considerably more. At the moment it would be £600 a week. But that was for the provision of constant care. We'll come to that in a minute. Margaret passed away, and at the time they put it to Bob that he could become a resident. Now Bob's needs are met by the fact that he goes to dialysis.
Sure.
They look after him. They make sure that he has access to food, or they made sure. And they used to wake him up in the morning for when the ambulance would come to take him to the hospital and look out for him, and that's it. But they didn't actually provide for any of his care needs. So they gave him the option of becoming a resident, but his rent would have more than doubled. And obviously Bob thought, I don't need that and I can't afford it. Right. So he chose to stay on as a tenant.
Can I make the point that Bob sold his home and he has been paying this himself?
Yes.
It hasn't been provided by the state.
But the issue in my head at the moment is, with Mead Medical in particular, is their policy seems to be, because of the way things are now, to go into care, you have to have money.
Yeah.
There are fail-safes, but generally speaking, the public sector care service doesn't really exist anymore.
No.
And you have to look to private care, and to go into private care it has to be funded.
Yeah.
And for the majority of people, the only way to achieve that is to sell off your assets, mostly your home. And the way some care homes seem to be working is they calculate how much did this person get for their home. So they get them in the case of Bob, £115 a week.
Offering them a relatively low rent.
A low rent.
Yeah. And
then there have only been 3 renewals since he moved there. His rent when he left last week was £300 a week.
So it's a 300% increase in 2 years?
So in 2 years.
For what is...
No, in 3 years. So
is really, when you get back from it, and take off the word
so
care,
your rent doubles every year.
A glorified bedsit, really, for an old person.
Oh, it was a tiny room.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And a lovely building, but a tiny room.
Yeah.
And they seem to have calculated that the time had come where Bob was running out of money.
So therefore,
the money he got for the sale of his house was running short, and he wasn't any good to them anymore. And they could get somebody in that room who could potentially pay £600 a week. And this, I think, is what it was all about. It was never about the dog.
No, that was just an excuse.
They just wanted Bob out to replace him, and there are 12 tenants, or there were 12 tenants at Burntfoot Hall. 2 of those have moved out, and we don't even know the circumstances within the last 4 weeks. One's gone to another care home, and one's gone into private residential accommodation. And my fear is that the other 9 tenants who are left
are at risk.
And they probably already know they're at risk.
And that's intimidating.
And nobody else knows.
No.
And they'll just be
quietly moved on.
And nobody.
That can't be allowed to happen because.
But it is happening.
I know, because if these things happen and there isn't a stand against it, then what you're saying is it's okay. It's okay.
It will become the norm.
It becomes the norm, exactly, and that's why this case is so important. And I mentioned the fact that Bob has paid for this himself,
Yeah.
and I think that's important too, not because if somebody hasn't got any money, they shouldn't be able to expect to be able to be looked after, but because this is somebody who has gone in at his own risk,
Yeah.
not at the council's.
Yeah.
And that does make it a little different.
Yeah, I mean, Bob gets nothing, he just gets his pension and that's it.
Yeah.
And he survived on that. He used the money that he got from the sale of the house to take, ultimately to take care of his wife and to survive ever since. And it's, he's done that.
Yeah.
He didn't anticipate a 200% increase in his rent.
No one would.
And he wouldn't have calculated that when he thought, oh, I've got enough from the sale of the house to keep me going for the rest of my life. Basically.
That's what you'd expect to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And medical have 7 care homes. So
There'd be a lot of people in this situation.
if you look at it, there are probably 60 tenants living in these care homes. All of those may be at risk.
That's right.
And again, unless somebody speaks up, we're not going to know.
No. So I think that a lot of issues that this deals with, which are relevant to everyone of all ages, really, not just because we'll all ultimately reach a point where we may need to be in a care home ourselves, but also because the way the law is applied, if you imagine if a man of 87 can be kicked out and the care home gets away with it, how much easier will it become to kick out young people from digs, or people who actually fall behind on a rent, or even on a mortgage. So that's, I think, covers pretty much everything we wanted to cover. And any reaction that you have, any thoughts you've got, please comment and continue to spread the petition, and any ideas you've got about how we can continue to move it forward will be much appreciated. And I'll keep you posted on the idea that we might make a song, which would be a fun way of helping the petition forward. And in the meantime, you can buy the music that I've mentioned in the previous video, and part of the money from that, which I've stated in there, will go to Bob. And if, hypothetically, we reach 1 million signatures on this, then I will be protecting Bob for life by releasing a song called Free Your Heart. And my God, we need to free our hearts in this country. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Arthur.
Great.